Good morning to Surviving the 80s, or how I do it. And a couple of days ago I started some mustard seed soaking, and I hate to admit this, but I think a bit of senility kicked in just as I was doing it, because I even had the right measuring cup over there to measure it out, and then this thing kicked in. Actually, it's to be in parts, 1 part each. So it was to be a half a part of mustard seed, a half a part of water, a half a part of vinegar. But I was adding brown and yellow mustard seed, and in my senility that kicked in, I put a half a cup of each of those. It should have been a fourth a cup of each of those. So when rationality finally came over me again, I realized what I'd done. So if you were starting that, all you'd have to do is add half a cup more water, half a cup more vinegar, let it sit about an hour, and then you can do your mustard. And so when I discovered it was after the video was over, so I had put in actually a cup of mustard seed, so I had to have a cup of water and a cup of vinegar, but I'd only put half of the cup of those two. So I corrected it, and so it's been soaking a couple of days. Now it's ready to go, and because I have usually, this is double batch for me, so I'm going to make it 2 different ways today. I'm going to put it in my blender, and I'm going to add a teaspoon to each of them of turmeric, and I didn't get my honey out, and I'm going to add a teaspoon of honey. Now you could add more honey if you'd like and make it more like a honey mustard. And so, you know, it's really easy. You've got control of how you want it to taste. Okay, and then I'm going to put in a little salt, and I'll tell you about this can. It says Morton's free running salt, it pours. Well, it's a cute can, but I don't have Morton's salt in it. What I have in here is a mixture of real salt, and that's the brand name, real salt, and pink Himalayan salt. So it's a mixture in here. And I'm going to they suggest a teaspoon of salt, but I'm only going to put, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon in mine. So I'm going to take out now about half of what's in here. And remember, I wanted to try coriander, so I've got some coriander seeds in here, but you don't need to do that. So I'm just going to put it in my blender. I usually check my blender to make sure it's not going to leak, but it feels like it's on there good. So that's maybe about a half. So I'm going to start. Now, I'm sorry for the noise, but I don't know how to unfilter the noise. So here we go, noise and all. Push it down, and it's looking like mustard in there, and I know I've got too big of jars but to put it in because it's only going to make a small batch. Okay, let's do it again. It's sort of on the chunky side. I mean, yeah, I do. where there's still a little bit of texture to it, but you can blend it, you know, as long as you want. And, you know, it doesn't look, I'm going to put the whole thing in. I'm just going to make one big batch, because I think I'll just have two little jars and won't have much in either jar. So that's what I'll go for. And I'm going to put it right back in this jar here. Won't even use this jar, so that's nice. It's always nice to have less to wash up. Okay, and I'm going to, because I've made 2 batches, oh, you know what? I think I'll add a little more salt, because this is basically 2 batches. So I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of turmeric, and I want to try paprika, so I'm going to put a teaspoon of that in and just see what I have. And coriander and paprika do marry well. So there. Now we'll do that. Now we'll do the whole thing. I hope my blender can handle it. Sometimes this blender is about 30 years old. It's really done a lot. Okay, it was new about 30 years ago. We got it. Actually, my folks gave it to me. We had a bed and breakfast, and I used it every morning. And so it's really done a number. Okay, that's my mustard. And you'll still see some of the seeds, and blend it more if you don't want to see any of the seeds in it. But I wish the camera, I don't know if you can, well, I'll try to show it to you. It's not in a good angle, I know. There's just no good angle for me to do it, so you can see good. But I do have mustard. There. Whoops. You know what? I didn't put the honey in, did I? Did I? I don't think so. Oh, well, let's see what I can do. Well, let me taste it first. Actually, I don't like things sweet, so I might do fine without it. Tastes like mustard. Whoops. Oh, that'd be nice on an old-fashioned hot dog, wouldn't it? Sorry, you probably can't see. Okay, I didn't put the mustard in. Excuse me, I didn't put the honey in the mustard. okay. But if you were gonna make it, you could, I think I can live without it, and it would be better for me. So that's my mustard, made a whole jar full, and of course, you can make less. You can do the half cup, but it's a proportion in parts. So for whatever part you use, a half cup mustard seed, a variety, a half cup of water, a half cup of vinegar, let it set for 2 days, put your salt, and if you want, your honey, and your turmeric, and anything else you want to add to it. And there's all sorts of things you can add to mustard, different spices, horseradish, cayenne, whatever you'd like. So that's how I make my mustard, and I'll actually share some of this with my son. And it's a good wintertime thing to use, plus in the summer, so you can't go wrong with mustard. Okay, I hope that your mustard turns out well if you make it. So I am very grateful, by the way, for these spices that were created for us to use. They are a blessing.